Hello, so this is the first demo for SearchWorks 3.3 Fall 2018 work cycle. I am Sarah Seastone and I'm serving as the product owner for this sprint. I'm joined by other members of the team, including Jesse Keck as developer and tech lead, Alyssa Hafley as Scrum Master, Jennifer Vine as designer, Camille Villa, Chris Beer, Drew Wingett, Jack Reed as developers. Shelly Joljak is joining us as a developer through September and the first day of October. And Cam Chan is our ops liaison. This work cycle, we plan to address high priority enhancements to the SearchWorks application, continue improving performance of the SearchWorks user experience, finish and release application status and the performance dashboard, and address some long-standing and high priority bug reports and feature requests from user feedback. So this week, we'll be walking through some of the work that the team completed in the last 2 weeks during Sprint 0 and Sprint 1. During this time, we focused on addressing high priority enhancements and improvements. We've had 2 releases into the production in the last week, 2 weeks, 3.3.3 last Wednesday and 3.3.4 today. We spent a good portion of the week on the user status dashboard to get that ready for a soft launch. And Camille will take us through that demo first. And then after that, Chris will walk us through the work that was completed to get Traject fully into production. And that work completed the indexing and performance work cycle that the team has been focused on through the summer. Shelly will walk us through the new facets available in SearchWorks 3.3.3. Then Jesse will take us through some smaller ticket work that has been done, but it's exciting work. And Jack will finish up with talking some about the page load improvements, which hopefully will make SearchWorks a bit faster. So that's the agenda for this demo. And with that, Camille, do you want to go?
Sure thing. All right. So work continues on the SearchWorks status dashboard. So the first thing you'll notice is the addition of some lovely branding, better theming, fonts easier on the eyes, other updates to the user experience. We have renamed several of the services available here so that they map more closely to our users' understanding of our services. We also had the opportunity to do some testing of the status dashboard this week. So you can see we started added some updates to the SearchWorks status Twitter account where we acknowledge outages and their eventual resolution. And we've also added some explanation to the New Relic performance graphs. And we have also included this embedded status feedback form so that you can still get in touch about SearchWorks when SearchWorks is down. And that's it for the dashboard this week.
Excellent. So Chris, you want to talk us through Traject?
Sure. And I have nothing to share. So last week on Monday, we went live with our new SearchWorks index built with Traject. And it's been running ever since. Over the past week, we've been doing some kind of production support and monitoring and trying to take care of small bugs in the way we tie things together. So it's all kind of internal team-facing work. And it's been running very smoothly for the last week. We got at least one bit of user feedback where indexing changed between our old solar mark-based code and our Traject code, and we put in a fix for that. And have to wait for a full reindex to occur to take care of all the records that may be affected. And that's just wait on a dump from Symfony, and things will automatically pick it up and do the index for us. No manual intervention.
Great. Yay. So Shelley, if you could walk us through the new facets, and I think we're gonna swap shares.
Yeah, I am trying to share my screen.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about a couple new facets that have appeared in SearchWorks this past week. The first one is the curriculum collection facet, which is a location in the Cubberley Education Library. When you select the education library from the library facet, you will see that there's a new location facet that appears, and you could select records that are in the curriculum collection there. So that's one of the new things this week. Another new facet is related to theses and dissertations. Here we've changed a little bit of the wording, and there's a link now to something called Stanford, showing the Stanford work only. When I click on that, I see that there are a couple new facets. We have Stanford student work that displays a little breakdown of the theses and dissertations that are available in the catalog. And we have the degree types, bachelor's, doctoral, and master's, and all the different degrees that you could select on and see what Stanford work we have in those. And then the second facet that appears when you click on the Stanford student work is the Stanford School and Department facet. And this is all related to the department or schools in which a Stanford thesis or dissertation was published. Lastly, if I take away this theses and dissertations breadcrumb, we have here a little category of other student work with student reports. And the hope is that we will be populating this facet with more stuff as we add things that were deposited in the Stanford Digital Repository. And that is all I have to share for that.
Great, Shelley, that's awesome. We're gonna have some happy researchers looking for Stanford work. Jesse, do you want to take us through your list?
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate a couple of the kind of application level changes that we've made, primarily things that have come in through feedback or various things that we've made improvements on. I'm going to just slight resize here. Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to show is in between now and the last time we were working on SearchWorks, we had the unfortunate event where some of our record emailing functionality was kind of taken over by a spam bot and was sending lots of spam emails out to various addresses. We were shut off from emailing from University IT until we could take some sort of measure. In the interim, before being able to implement anything, we just made it so that emailing records would require that you were logged in as a Stanford user, so only Stanford users could have that functionality. We did receive feedback that was something that people were a little bit disheartened to see, that the anonymous users, non-Stanford people, wouldn't be able to send their records anymore. So in this sprint, we have taken the step of removing that requirement and replacing that with an I am not a robot reCAPTCHA challenge, which you can see here. There's a little note here that indicates that you can avoid this CAPTCHA by logging in. So this is only presented to anonymous users. Stanford users will still have the same workflow as before. So really the thing that we're doing is taking the message saying that you can't do this anymore and providing the form if you can pass a reCAPTCHA challenge. In addition to email, we've also implemented this in our feedback form. Again, if you're logged in as a Stanford user, you will not be provided this reCAPTCHA challenge. But what we're hoping to do is A, reduce spam that comes in through our feedback, as well as B, reduce some frustration that some users have had with their browser's autocomplete functionality interfering with how we were doing our previous spam identification and capturing mechanism. We found that browsers can change how they implement and deal with these sorts of things over time, and we feel like this is going to be a little bit more of a robust solution that is less prone to breaking without us doing anything. So this has now been implemented again for feedback and for record emails. Another thing that I'd like to show is we've implemented the Sfx data that we can pull in asynchronously into the available online panel for records with Sfx links. So this is new data that we now have there. You'll find you found that this was previously in articles, but not in for catalog records. You would just link to the Sfx record, Sfx site itself. So now we're actually able to pull in full text links through the API and present them directly to users on the page. This is previously information that was available when clicking on this link, but now they can go directly to those resources. And one other thing that I'd like to show is we addressed a bug in our article implementation that was preventing our date slider histogram from showing. So in this search for school reform, we have the date slider here. It's a little bit hard to show because of it is now where it wasn't before. But previously, when you would drill it down into the academic search premier database, something because of the way that this database had inserted its dates into the API or into EBSCO was preventing this date slider from appearing. But now we have addressed that. So anytime that EBSCO is reporting that there is a date range available for us to filter on, we will surface the date slider appropriately. That, in addition to that, not anything that we're going to show necessarily here, but just did want to also call out as far as our feedback and incremental application fixes, is that we have made some small changes to some metadata display, in some cases removing certain subfields from the display that weren't supposed to be, removing some fields that we've been asked to no longer display, and some other minor enhancements like that. And that's all that I have.
Thanks, Jesse. Okay, I think that takes us to Jack to talk about the page load improvements.
Great, thanks. So one thing to discuss is share about our progress over the past week has been we've been looking at different ways to optimize page load speed for end users. And one thing we were able to find and make an optimization on is the way that the stack map loads for users. So we've made a change here so that we still see the stack map in the previous way that it loaded, but we're now using a library that's about 75% smaller. So what this means is when a user loads a page, it should load quicker, and we should get a faster response for users. So that's just one example of some of the additional page speed increases that we've been making.
Excellent. Thanks, Jack. So with that, that's a lot of work that the team's been working on. I failed to mention in that transition that the user status dashboard is pulling production data, is showing status on production, and that's not a reporting on a stage box. So if you go to that page, you will see production status, and we look forward to rolling out the user status dashboard in the next week or so. If you have comments, questions, or feedback on the work that's been completed this week or that we've talked through in the demo, you have a few communication options. You can leave a comment on the YouTube channel. You can find the team in the hallway. You can send us email. You can let us know what questions, comments, or feedback you have. And with that, we will end this week's demo, and we'll see you all next week.